Good morning. Today is October the 28th, 2019. Today we have a great guest, the CEO of USPTA, John R. EMBREE, who is one of the great personalities in the tennis industry, 40 years of experience. He ran an organization of 1,300 members worldwide. John was president of Prince Sports. He was a president of Baldermatch LLC, 17 years at Wilson Sporting Good, and 2014 board member of International Tennis Hall of Fame. John, I cannot read more. I would like you to help me out if I miss out. if I miss out anything. You're one of the greatest. Can you school us a little bit more about you?
Well, you're very nice, Sekou, and I would just clarify one thing. We have 14,000 members worldwide, not 1,300, but that's okay. It's not a big deal.
13,000. I'm 14,000.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Good correction. 14,000 corrections.
That's correct. That's correct.
So, John, should I add anything else to your resume there? Can you help me if I miss anything else there?
I just tell you, I've been around a long time. I'm just an old man just trying to do what's right for tennis. So that's all you really need to know. It's been really a great ride, and I would say one thing that was kind of interesting back in the late 1970s, early 1980, I became the first USTA National League administrator and actually started the USTA League program, which we all know is the most successful adult program in the United States right now, and so many of our members and so many teaching pros make a good portion of their living working with league players for their team matches, et cetera. So I'm pretty proud of that accomplishment. That's something that I'm really glad to have been a part of, especially in the early days when there was no regulations and no ratings and rankings or whatever, and to see where the program is now and all the different levels and all the different options that people have, it's pretty special. So that's the only last thing I'll tell you.
Yes. So I see some French word in president of Baldermatch. Can you school me on Baldermatch, the meaning of it? I know the meaning in French.
Yeah, Baldermatch was a small little tennis apparel company that was created by a partner of mine at the time, Chris Deverian, out in Southern California. And so after my time at Wilson, I hooked up with Chris, and he had a brand. He had a great design. He had a little Yippee Man, which was the logo. And he needed some help from a sales and marketing standpoint, and so he knew that my background at Wilson might be of some help to him, and so we brought a venture capital group in to help fund us, and we got involved with the company starting in 2004, and by the time I left to go to Prince in 2008, we had tripled sales from basically $1 million to $3 million in sales, had a lot of grassroots and broad distribution at pro shops and specialty shops, and it was really a brand that the kids loved because of the Yippee Man logo, and pros loved it because it had a great design and it was a really comfortable product. And we did a lot of teamwork, did a lot of high school teams and college teams because of the commitment that we made to inventorying product of different colors that so many teams needed. So it was really a fun business, and I really enjoyed my time, my 4 years with Baldermatch.
Great, John. We have a big subject ahead of us today. John's going to discuss the new USPTA accreditation and what it means. John, school us. I'm going to pretend I know nothing. I'm going to give you the mic. School us about this new accreditation, what to do, when to start. Give us the ABC of this new system.
We'll do. And thanks, Sekou, for the opportunity to present this, because this is a message that we want pros all over the United States and around the world to understand and learn. And I'll give you a little bit of background for you first. Number one, the USTA and the U.S. professionals had the lowest, or have had the lowest requirements for education before certification of any developed nation in the world. Think about this. You could play college tennis or even high school tennis. If you took a test, you could actually pass that test and become a certified professional. And when you compare that to what Canada and Belgium and France and Australia at 400 hours at least on a minimum basis, we were really lagging behind the rest of the world in terms of education prior to certification. And the second thing is that our game hasn't grown any since 2008. We had a nice little increase going up in 2008 and 2009. And since that time, over the last 10 years, the game hasn't grown. We've actually gone backwards a little bit. And so there's been a real problem with the industry. We've seen tennis manufacturers, the brands, really see a cutback in the amount of distribution points that they have, and the game hasn't really grown, and especially when we're aging out in terms of the number of baby boomers that are no longer playing. And it's a concern for every one of us in the industry. And so the USTA said, look, we need to do something about improving and elevating the standards of tennis. And so in 2013, PTR, USPTA, and USTA got together, and we created very minimal standards for prior to certification. And we required an online test with Coach Youth Tennis, an online course of about 7 hours of Coach Youth Tennis. And that was sort of the intent to be the first starting place to have some education prior to becoming certified. And that started in 2014. And realizing that certainly wasn't enough, the USTA said, look, we've got to do something more than that, and we've got to be competitive with everybody around the world. And so what they decided to do is they said, look, we're going to get into the accreditation business, which means we're going to be the accrediting body, and we're going to offer an invitation to teaching organizations, PTR, USPTA, TIA, no matter who it is, to be accredited and to submit to an application that the USTA had actually submitted to all of us in actually December of 2017. And that accreditation document was a 35-page document that was very specific about what things an organization needed to do in order to become accredited. And it was all set up by an independent organization called the Accreditation Review Committee, of which there were 3 senior staff members from the USTA and 2 outside education people who were made of this 5-member group that developed this accreditation document. And so they submitted that accreditation document to all the organizations in December of 2017, and we immediately thought it was important for us to do this because we have our mission statement is to elevate the standards of tennis teaching coaches and professionals in the United States and around the world. And because this accreditation was going to be so important, our board said, look, this is something we really got to do. So we submitted our application to the USTA Accreditation Review Committee in January of 2018, and we were granted provisional accreditation in March of 2018. And provisional only meant that we had to spend a lot of time over the course of the next 9 to 12 months developing a platform, developing programs as to what this new accreditation standard was going to mean. And we did that all through 2018. And at the end of December, we decided to go ahead and submit an application for full accreditation, which was granted to us in January of this year of 2019. So what does that mean? What does full accreditation mean? What does this mean for us as an association? And it's pretty complicated, but I'm going to try to give it to you as succinctly as I possibly can. So in working with the USTA on this accreditation sort of relationship, partnership, there are 3 things that we needed to establish, and we want our pros and we want all the industry to understand what it's going to mean. So starting January 1st of 2021, all new applicants or all new people who want to become certified professionals are going to have to be required to go through 1,200 hours of experiential learning. Don't get scared by that 1,200-hour number. What it means is basically going to work for a pro as a mentor and working at a club for 6 to 9 to 12 months, learning the business and understanding what it's like to go ahead and teach junior lessons and work with adult leagues and work with tournaments and run the front desk and know how to string rackets, et cetera. So it's basically an apprenticeship program under the auspices of a mentor, a USPTA mentor that would be matched up with that particular individual. So that's 1,200 hours, basically 8 to 12 months of experiential learning, but also 300 hours of online education. And that online education is being developed in conjunction, collaboration with the USTA that would be on a brand new platform called Blackboard Ultra. Blackboard Ultra is what a lot of institutions of higher learning use for online education, and everybody knows online education now is an important component for any higher education. So Blackboard Ultra is going to be the platform for these 300 modules, and these are going to be modules that professionals are going to want to have, not necessarily because they have to have it, but because they're going to want to have, because it's going to make them better in their jobs. And so by the time they finish those 300 hours, by the time they finish the apprenticeship, they would then be ready to become a certified professional. So plan on about a year or so for somebody to become a certified professional. So that's the first thing. So we're going to go from that 6 hours that I told you about, which is coach youth tennis, to now 1,500 hours. That is a major change in how we are going to deliver tennis, and it's a quantum leap in terms of where we stand in the world. So we will be now the leader of education prior to somebody becoming certified. So that's the first thing that's going to happen on January the 1st of 2021. The second thing that's going to happen is we are going to require USPTA members in good standing who are actively teaching to become backgrounds, or not to become, but to go through safe play training and become background screened. And this is an important ingredient because, as everybody knows, what's happened with coaching is in USA Wrestling and swimming and gymnastics, the safety of children is a very important topic and is relevant in today's society. And the USTA really wanted to put a stake in the ground to say, look, we're going to have tennis be the safest sport in the United States. And as a result of being fully accredited by the USTA, they have asked us, and we've agreed to go ahead and have all of our members who are teaching tennis on a full-time basis, teaching tennis at clubs and whatever, to be certified, to be background checked, and be safe play trained. And that's an important ingredient that's also going to start on January 1st of 2021. And then the third thing that's going to happen on January 1st of 2021 is that we are going to change our education, our continuing education requirement. Right now, our requirement is only 12 hours or 6 credits of continuing education. We're going to bump it up to 15 hours, which is actually a 25% increase, but we're going to bump it up to 15 hours starting January 1st of 2021. So any member in good standing who wants to remain a member of the USPTA will be asked to go ahead and go through 15 hours. It's 3 more hours than what they're currently doing right now, but it's an important element. And because we're going to offer these online education modules through Blackboard Ultra, and we're developing so many other new certifications, there's going to be a lot of great content for pros that they're going to be able to access to go ahead and get their continuing education credits. So those are the 3 major things that are going to happen starting on January the 1st of 2021. Now, I'm not going to be so foolhardy to think that we're not going to get some pushback. We know that there are members who don't think that there should be any requirement for continuing education. That's their prerogative. We know that there's some members who are going to say, look, I've been doing my job for 20 years, or I don't work with kids, or all of my clients are all over 65, or why are you going to require me to be safe play trained or background checked? Well, it's very simple. We think it's the right thing to do. And in society today, because of all the things that have happened with gymnastics and wrestling and swimming and some of the other sports, it's important that tennis stand up and be accounted and say, we have the safest sport. So all of our members there are going to be some members, like I say, they may push back and say, I don't want to do this. You can't make me do this. And look, I understand that. It's a hard thing for people to do and change. But in our opinion, in our board's opinion, in our executive committee's opinion, it's the right thing to do. So what this means, Sekou, is that over the next 14 months, basically, we have an awful lot of work to do. We've got to create all these modules. These 300 modules have to be filmed. They have to be created, and they have to be put online. We've got to communicate to our membership about what was going to happen between now and January 1st of 2021. There's an awful lot that we are going to have to do to communicate to our pros and to the industry about these standards. And we want consumers, we want customers, we want tennis advocates and tennis players to understand that USPTA is really going out on a limb here. We are making significant change. This is a paradigm shift in our organization, and we want consumers to recognize that they should go to USPTA certified pros in order to take their lessons, in order to be their students. So that's the long and the short of it, Sekou. It's a lot of discussion, and I'm happy to go ahead and pursue that some more with you. But that's kind of the top line look at what's going to be taking place over the next 12 to 14 months before January 1st of 2021.
Great. So in terms of the test structure, that's not going to change, right?
It's interesting that you say that. So the typical test that we've given, and we have 81 testers in the United States that go around and do tests on a regular basis, and we test about 1,200 to 1,400 people a year. That's probably going to be changed. That's probably going to be modified, because all during the course of an applicant, as they go through their apprenticeship, and as they learn from their mentor, and as they understand what it is to really run a business, not just to feed balls, but to really run a tennis business, they're going to be evaluated. And they're going to be evaluated by their mentor, They're going to be evaluated by our testers, and so our testers' role is going to change a little bit. They're still going to